Hi, I thought I'd do a video on this quick little dish that, I don't know, it's been in my family forever. It's dried fruit compote. We use it as a dessert, but it's also just good with a dollop of yogurt on it as a breakfast. You can use it for really anything, and it's super easy to make, and it makes a ton. So you just need a big pot and whatever dried fruits you like. So this is my dad's favorite thing, so I always make it at holidays. Especially, it was traditionally made for Passover, but I've started making it for Thanksgiving and other holidays. So, anyways, my dad loves dried apricots, so I have organic dried apricots. I'm gonna put 2 bags. You can put any dried fruit you want in any amount. It's very like forgiving recipe, and you just put however much you want. I have dried apples. I like to use the unsulfured organic fruit, but I learned this recipe from my aunt, and she just used the regular dried fruit. So anything that you use will be fine. I just kind of break these up a little bit so they aren't a big clump. And then I have figs. I'm gonna put these in last, but I take the little hard bit off the top. You don't have to. I just prefer not to have to try and chew that because it doesn't soften enough. So I'll do that last because there's a little more work involved in that one. And then I have some dried cherries left in here. I live in Michigan, so dried cherries are always around. So I'm just gonna dump this amount in here. And then I have a half a bag of pitted prunes, which are dried plums. I'm gonna throw that in there. And I've got some dried raisins. Now, you can add anything else you want, whatever dried fruit you have. This just tends to be what we do, and I usually make a huge pot full. I'm making sort of what I would call my normal half batch because we're not having as many people this year. Alright, so I got several raisins in here. So now I'm just going to do my figs. These are just, to me, a little fussier just because I pick off the tips. And I could probably just get a cutting board and cut them with a knife, but out of pure laziness, I just do it this way. So, whoops, it would help if I put that in there. Oh, and then it stuck. Okay, well, that one might be the dog treat. She's not even awake yet. It's early. Okay. And if they don't have the hard little stem on them, then you can just throw them in. I just find that the stems do not get soft enough for my liking. Some people don't mind. And I love, love, love dried mission figs. They're harder and harder to find lately. The ones I find are always the different variety of figs, which are perfectly fine for this. Just my dad and I, it's our thing. We love these mission figs. We would like mow down a whole bag of them as a snack. So I ended up ordering these online just because I wanted these specific kind of figs. Okay, here we go. That should be good. And if you really want smaller bites, you could cut these in half. It's just gonna make all the seeds and stuff come out, so I just leave them whole. Anyways, so that's pretty much all you have to do. And then however much fruit you have, you add water to cover it by like an inch or two. So I've got some filtered water here. The apples tend to float, that's okay. But it looks like the rest of it's covered by a good amount. I'm just gonna add. There we go. And then the last piece of the puzzle is a cinnamon stick. Just drop it in. When it's done cooking, you will fish that out. And lemons. You can just add 1 lemon. You can add, but my dad and I love the softened lemon that cooks with all the sweet juices of the dried fruit. So I put 2.5. They were small lemons, so I put 2.5 in there. And you just slice it real thin. I take all the seeds out, so some of them I cut in half because I couldn't get the seed out. So, but you just slice it as thin as you can and put it in there on top, and it will cook and soften and be delicious. All right, so now you turn it on to high and bring it to a boil. When it comes to a boil, you turn it down to a simmer and let it simmer for 5 minutes. Set the timer. Then just turn it off and let it cool. Then I usually take it out of the pot, put it in a bowl with a lid, and stick it in the fridge. You chill it before you serve it. So I'm going to let this come to a boil, and I'll be back to show you the simmering process. Okay, as you can see, this is boiling pretty rapidly now. As I put away my bag of raisins in my cupboard, I saw an open bag of whole dried cranberries, organic. So I threw those in. It was only like a couple handfuls. So that's what you see on top of the apples. And as you can see, the apples have already puffed up quite a bit. So I'm going to turn this down to like lowish. Got it on about 1.5. And I'm going to let it simmer. I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes. So you just want to let it simmer just like this for 5 minutes. And what's going to happen is, as all this fruit heats and plumps up, it releases its sugars and it makes the water like a nice syrup. And so as it cools, it thickens, and you end up with like the plump dried fruit and the cooked lemon peels with like a syrupy liquid, and it's just delicious. And I just serve it in a bowl. It all ends up looking sort of the similar dark color of all the fruit, but it's delicious. And you can stir it a little bit if you want, but you really don't have to. I just like to make sure that the lemons get down in there so that they cook, because you want that peel to soften nicely. So we're just going to let it simmer for 5 minutes, and I'll come back and then we'll fish out the cinnamon stick and let it cool. And then once it's cool, you just refrigerate it, and then you just serve it right from the refrigerator. I'll be back in a bit. Okay, I'm back. It's simmered for just a tad bit over 5 minutes. And as you can see, everything's nicely plumped. Even the cinnamon stick has like opened its little curl and kind of plumped. And everything's sort of plumpy here, nice and full. And some of my lemon peel I probably cut a little too thick, but you can see the ones that were cut thin like they should be are broken down. The actual lemon meat is sort of gone, mostly gone, and the peel looks softened. So that's perfect. If you feel like your lemon isn't quite cooked enough, like it doesn't look like it, like this piece is thicker, and so as you can see, it's not quite as broken down. You can let it cook a little bit longer if you want to make sure that lemon peel is nicely softened, but it will continue to soften in the warm liquid as it cools, so it's not a huge big deal. So anyways, now I'm just going to turn this off, and I'm just going to let it sit till it's room temperature. Once it's room temperature, I'm going to pack it up and put it in the refrigerator, and I'll show you as it cools, and then once it's refrigerated, it gets nice syrupy. This liquid that you can see is now the water that's now all colored from the fruit. This isn't a very good spoon. Let me grab. If you look at this nice brown liquid here, it's got a lot of the sugars from the fruit in it, so as it cools, it will get like a syrupy consistency. So I'm just going to turn this off and let it cool, and I'll be back to show you the finished product. Okay, so the fruit compote has cooled to basically room temperature. I'm going to remove the cinnamon stick. I leave it in there while it's cooling because it still imparts the flavor as it's warm. That's just going to set aside to go in the garbage compost bin. And then I'm going to just scoop it into another bowl so I can put it to chill in the refrigerator. But as you can see, this is already a little bit more syrupy than it was, but as it is in the refrigerator, it'll be even more syrup. And as it cooled, you can see that it absorbed and puffed up even more, rehydrated the fruit, and it absorbed a lot of the liquid. And as you can see, all the lemon pieces are nicely cooked and softened and like, you know, come right apart. And it's just sort of the peel left. So it smells divine. The smell of this is one of those things that you have those smells that just transport you back in time. This is the smell of my childhood. Every holiday at my aunt's, she made this, and you'd walk in her house and it just had this gorgeous aroma of sweet fruits, lemon and cinnamon. And just smelling this pot just smells like my aunt, who I love dearly. So I'm just putting this in here. All right. Whoops, dropped my towel. Hold on. I'm gonna move this up here so you can see. I'm gonna pour all the juice, the rest of this. Okay, so I'm just going to go put this in the refrigerator, and then it will be served with our desserts. It doesn't look like much, but it tastes and smells delicious. A dollop of whipped cream even would be good on it, but we just eat it plain. Okay, so that's dried fruit compote. I'll show you when it's cooled how thick it is. So this is the finished compote. As you can see, there's the lemon peel, the lemon all broke down, and apple that's all plumped up. And you can see, now that it's chilled, just how syrupy the liquid is. It's just delicious. And the apricots, the unsulfured apricots, plump up and get all nice and orange again. It's just luscious. Anyway, that's all there is to dried fruit compote. It's very easy. And sometimes I add prunes into it. You can add really any dried fruit you like. It works well. You just make sure you cover it with like 2 inches of water and simmer it for at least 5 minutes or until your lemons are nice and soft. I hope you enjoy it. Bye.